A very good evening to all the poetry lovers around the world. Progressive Literary and Cultural Society is back with our favorite show, Coffee Time Poetry. Here it is Dr. Shamenaz with Lucilla Trapazzo, all the poets around the world. A very uh, 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 bright and beautiful good evening and a happy Diwali once again to all the world. Today it is a turn for Italian Forum to host our favorite show, Coffee Time Poetry. And so we will be having Vietnam, Đặng Thân sir, and the host for today's evening is our very own PLCS Italian coordinator, Lucilla Trapazzo. Everybody is familiar with Lucilla since she is very active on PLCS forum and all the other online and offline forum around the world. Recently, she has been traveling to many poetry festival in Feminist Istanbul, Turkey, in Greece, in Macedonia, and various other places. Lucilla is a poet, translator, and theater artist from Italy, residing in Switzerland. So, Lucilla, you are very welcome to your own forum of Progressive Literary and Cultural Society. You may proceed with today's event.
Hello, thank you, Shamenaz, for this warm welcoming and introduction. First of all, happy Diwali to everybody. It's a beautiful, wonderful festival, and I'm happy to have this meeting exactly during Diwali time. I must excuse myself if my lighting is not the best, but I have some problems with my computer, so I'm connected with the telephone. Sorry for this. I'm very happy and honored today to have with us a poet, an artist, and a dear friend. First of all, I would like to say a couple of words on how I met Đặng. It was by chance. At the beginning of the first lockdown, the COVID lockdown, this Vietnamese name asks for my friendship on Facebook. I normally do not give my friendship to people I don't know at all. Something told me accept this request, and so it was the start of a beautiful friendship. I invited him. At that time, I was doing some other projects called Voci dal Mondo, Big Voices from the World, and he participated in that one, and we started to exchange poems and paintings. And finally, Đặng Thân gave me the honor of translating his book. I translated it from English. The title of the book is Other Moments. And, it will come out in Italy next year in 2023 for Bertoni Editore. And it's such a beautiful piece of news, and I hope we will be able, Đặng Thân, to present your book once it comes out. Now some words about Đặng Thân. As I said, he is a poet and he is a painter. As a poet, he has a complex combination of motifs and themes in his poems, as well as styles. So we can see the lyrical one, the poems that talk about beautiful moments of his culture, of his life. But at the same time, there are poems that are more cutting, more sharp, also social criticism. And he can go, as I said, from the very poetic to the down-to-earth, to the playful puns with words and with images. And he plays even with the metrics. He has one poem that has only settenario, 7 syllables. And yes, and there is another poem which I love very much, describing in a very nice and playful and at the same time intimate way a morning of love with a woman. So what else can I say about Đặng Thân? He is a bilingual poet, fiction writer, critic and essayist, and is based in Vietnam. He is the typical figure of post-Doi Moi literature. He's also a big humorist. He's a New York-based poets and writers wrote. This is beautiful, so I want to read it. Tan is praised for his idiosyncratic prose and rebellious style. And it is very true. It's very rebellious and a somehow jazzy style of writing poetry. We will also talk, I hope we will have the time to talk also about his paintings, which are incredibly detailed for the chromatic palette that he uses. But I don't want to talk about this. We want to see him as a poet now. So, Dantan, I want to mention, he won several awards, also in Italy, like Il Meleto di Guido Gozzano. He got an honor mention, and the very prestigious Nagy Naaman Literary Prize. He won the honor prize for complete works in 2020. So, Tan, it's your turn now. I want to start right away with a question. Tell us a little bit how you arrived to poetry.
Okay, good evening from Vietnam. I'm very pleased to see you both again, Dr. Shamenaz and Lucilla. Of course, it's a great chance to meet you, Lucilla, as I see that maybe we first had contact when you put some certain kind of like to my post of poetry that first translated by Lydia, by a woman of image and poetry. So that's why I had the connection, and then maybe it first came from your line or your interaction. Well, you got a big question to me first here today, Lucilla. Well, I first came to poetry, of course, when I was small. At school, I normally, wrote down or copied something I like or some certain kind of verses from famous poets everywhere around the world. Of course, at first I was interested in Vietnamese authors, and then when I grew up, I learned foreign languages, and then I had time, to study, to learn much more from the world, and then I turned to my direction, and then I learned a lot from the world poets everywhere, and especially, of course, from I must say that I first learned most things from Greek culture and Roman culture, and of course all the culture from Southern Europe, like in those countries, attracted me most. And then later I turned to the north with the Anglo-Saxon culture, with the Nordic culture, and of course Western Europe can be somewhere that I really I'm really interested about. Well, of course, in technical terms, I learned a lot from the English culture, the English literature, of course. And when I graduated from university, I went on to teach English, and I was in charge of literature, especially American and English literature. So that's why I've learned a lot from them, from English and American poetry. But of course, from school, when I mean from the time I was at school, I learned a lot from Greek and Roman cultures, and of course, maybe that's why I can feel a very close connection to people from Southern Europe, and that's why I know that the culture in Southern Europe can be somewhat it's more open as compared to the North or to the Nordic culture, and also people from Vietnam, my country, are also open. We share the openness easily, and that's why we've got many things in common to connect, to talk to, and to be friends together. Of course, so that's what I say. Wow, Roman culture can. Of course, before saying that, I must. I inherited a lot from Eastern. I mean, from Oriental culture. I learned a lot from the Chinese philosophy and poetry, and then Indian culture and poetry. Tagore from India can be one of my first favorite authors whom I read a lot at school. Of course, so my view of poetry ranges from Far Eastern to the Near East, to the South of Asia, and to the South Europe. But today, I'm very happy to meet two Southerner. That means you are from the South of Asia, as Dr. Shamenaz and Lucilla, who come from the South Europe. Okay, and South is one word in the name of my country, Vietnam. Nam is South. Okay, Viet can be the name of our nation, but Nam is the South. So it can be something like the nation of Viet who live in the south of Asia. So Nam is the south, and you are also from the south of Europe and the south of Asia also. Dr. Shamenaz and Lucilla.
Yes.
Your first question.
Yes, it is. It is very interesting. I'm sorry. It's beautiful that you told us also the meaning of the word Vietnam. First of all, I need to say that I noticed that also my telephone is starting to have some problems. So, in case my connection gets lost, please read the poem, and then I will try to enter again as soon as possible.
Okay.
But yes, what I want to underline is exactly what you said, that you have both the Western and the Eastern poetry, and the Eastern is very much in the more lyrical poems. You have the more Eastern themes and philosophy. In the ones that are more playful, in my opinion, there is much more the Western. Why don't you read us a poem so that we can understand something more about your poetry?
I see. Okay. Thank you for the question. I can say that not only the Eastern poetry, the old Western poetry is also very lyrical, very as we say, it's very rhyming. Rhymes can be a feature of all the ancient poetry in the East and in the West also. So I also started writing poetry with rhymes. I started with rhyming poems, with rhyming verses, but then of course I prefer the blank verse, or we say freestyle, because I can say that when learning writing lyrical poetry, it can provide us with all the basic teacher on the basic requirement of language. When we learn all the poetry in a rhyming way or in a certain kind of lyrics, we learn the theme or the melody of each language, and everyone loves it. Everyone loves it because everyone normally are very familiar with a certain kind of lyrics or rhymes. So that's why it's very beautiful. It must be, I must say, it's so beautiful to learn and to write rhyming and lyrical poetry. And gradually, when I became more grown up, I see that when we get rhyme and lyrics, it's something like we need to trade on the rhyme. So that's why the freedom of thought, the freedom of the flow of language can be lost when we pay too much attention to rhyme and lyrics. So that's why when later I learned more from the modern authors, from modern poets, and see that with freestyle, with language, we can express everything. We can express all the thing we need to show. Especially with freestyle, we can write something like in the with the infinity, right? Something infinite can be expressed easily with freestyle, with poem.
Then that's a poem. Let us see what you mean. Give us a nice example of this.
Example of you mean?
Of your poetry. Just read a poem.
Okay, so many people like the poem, the first poem in Other Moments book, that is New Spring. I wrote it in 1990. That is about more than 30 years ago. Because at the time I started writing with rhyming and lyrical verses. I can read it to you first because it's something I started with rhyming poetry. Okay, so here it is New Spring. Wow, New Spring, it is the first in my book on Other Moments. I read it to you right now. Here, and I must say that I wrote this poem in English, so it is English original. But of course, my Vietnamese translation can be okay and equivalent to this English original. It is original in English. Now let me say, New Spring. Spring comes, spring goes, and here spring comes again. Many things have passed and something remain. In winter cold, sharp as a knife, as quiet, noisy, as flow of life. Man, you're burning down what you once worshipped. Worship it. What you burnt, nobody did it. It is why you choose without pity, flowers with no creativity. I wish to be a painter of colors, but I was born under black, cold canvas, so I couldn't take choice into my art, which left me with no place with which to start. I seek greeneries of harmonious charm, take with me into purple space-time. Our lives are as deep and the seas are cold. Like black holes, enormous matter they hold. Okay, Lucilla. Well, more than 30 years ago, I wrote, I wish to be a painter of color. That's the truth. It's true. That is, I first wanted to be a painter, but I must tell you a secret that when I, finished high school, no art school or college in Vietnam opened. So that's why I could not take any art college or tuition at the time. So I had to change my education to foreign languages. So that wish is true, that I wish to be a painter of colors, but I was born under black cold cover. At that time Vietnam was, the whole country was under that. So there's so many things to say. That's what I can tell you, that's the way I started with poetry more than 20 years ago. Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's beautiful what you're saying. I am happy that we can give some news live about you, things that we didn't know before. And it is true. Now that you told me that this poem was written directly in English, it is true. It has a very strong rhythm of the English language. And this, in the book, this is the only poem I did not translate myself. It was translated by Lydia Chiarelli. And I want to mention her name because it's true. I get to know probably the first time I read your name, it was because she translated you exactly this poem. But the good part when you say that there were no schools at that time, but you were still able to develop your own painting style. And by the way, just in parentheses, I'm happy to see also your children, your sons, your two sons, going in the same direction as you did. I love every time you post some of their works. I really love them. It's really nice. And sometimes I'm not able to distinguish between the three between the three dang. I don't know which dang is work is. But my second question goes exactly in this direction. So you use two different artistic languages, the literature, the poetry, and the figurative arts. How do you have moments in which the two different languages talk to each other, have a meeting? In my opinion there is, but I want to know about you. Do the two languages meet in Đặng Thân?
Thank you. Well, just a short answer that, I painted again because of my children. I learned from them, and that's why I can paint again. Because I must say that my two sons, they were so attracted to painting, and that's why I had to do all the things for them. And then by that way, I learned how to paint again from them. So in the three painters in my home, I am the later one. And let's come back to poetry. Of course, writing in English and writing in my mother tongue Vietnamese. Of course, there would be something different here. But I must say that when I write in English, I can go directly to my idea. I must say that. When I write in Vietnamese, it needs time, or I need to go around before I can get out the idea I need. But with English, I don't know why I can go directly to what I need to express. And also, the English language is more, it's of course clearer. I must say something like clear cut. It's so, clear and sharp in all the ways aggressive. So I must say that it can be somewhat easier for me to write in English because I can get everything I need immediately. But of course, I was born in this country with my own language, so it cannot fly away from me. So, of course, I must say that I have more vocabulary with my mother tongue. That's why when I need to express many things or something, multifaceted, I need my Vietnamese first because I have much more, vocabulary with this. So I can express from the something very gentle, something very subtle, to something, concrete with Vietnamese. But I think that it is English that, that makes me happier when I write poetry. Because, it provides me everything I need later on. But when I need something in a vast, in a vast sphere, or I can say that when I need somewhere a large field to write, that's the time I need Vietnamese. When I need something, I need to express, to repeat something vast, something large, something, more complicated, of course. Because my Vietnamese in my mind is more complicated, so that's why I can express something more complicated with Vietnamese. But
I understand.
Okay, that's it.
I understand that completely. The few times I wrote in English directly, also my poems were shorter to the point. They were sharper somehow, and this is something. There is somebody who is quite famous, a very famous writer in Japan, Murakami Haruki, who he also decided he was writing first in Japanese, and then he decided to stop, and he wrote his very first novels directly in English, because that's exactly what you said, exactly the same thing that you said, that the language can be more direct, sharper, and it could focus much more. Probably because the language of the heart, our mother tongues, are full of different elements, as you were saying, that can sometimes bring us outside of the core of what we are writing. And the chosen language, the second language, it's a language that we learned later on in our life, and so it's a language that we learned with our head mostly, and so it's a language straight to the point. Why don't you read us another poem, originally in Vietnamese, so we can see if you have it. We can see the difference also.
I see. Lydia, who first translated my two poems, and the second poem is something like we say freestyle, and I first, of course, wrote in Vietnamese, and then I myself translated into English later, and it is something we say. I think it is the poem that you read first. It is here. I think you still remember this one. It is transitional seasons. It can be something like a free song. It looks like something in prose, but it is not prose. It is a true poetry. It's something I wrote with with the spirit of being friend with my children. So I see that when it was first translated into Italian, I saw many people, who interacted with this poem, and please remember that my first international prize, named Nazi Naman, focused on this poem. It is the key poem that brought me the Nazi Naman literary prize. Now let me read it to you first out of Shamenaz and Lucilla. Transitional season. As spring passes, summer arrives, tender bamboo shoots back for purity. Golden clouds hovering in breeze, blowing boisterously, giving haste to young chests. Winds die down. Obsessed with radiant days and flames that rise to heaven, resting inside of your hearts, leaving one's hollow holes, becoming one with raindrops dropping up the sky. The sea is made smooth, its waves left, beginning and ending, rising, their roots assembling, then overflowing over and over again. Oh my dear, how the season falls and softens, with lingering mud leading red into the snow. Stagnant morning dew made from when earth and fire were formed thousands of years ago. Flowers sprout and blooms, and fire and water rust born. Rubber and thieves whisper words in the wind, going from the highland to the mountain side. Yellow lights are hung by pink flamingo birds, and the phoenixes descend onto red moss. Fire, wind, and life gather as guitars are heard. Tile curves and forthright hearts cross, drying up only to become patched again. How perpetual life flows by in lullabies, flash and banner blowing up dust, leaving the destroyer alone to their his tents. In early summer, as bamboo rises to thunder beautiful, useful songs, notes falling into soup pots one by one, cooking themselves into the sky beyond, rustling high up into the sunshine, throwing columns of invisible smoke up into the air and my mind. That can be something. It can be the second poem translated into Italian, I suppose.
It is very obvious listening to this poem, what you said before, between the differences between writing directly in English and writing in your language. This poem is much more imagist. It's full of elements, full of colors, the phoenix, the flamingos, the red mountains. It is really full of beautiful images, and I understand why most the Italian people reacted to the poem, because it talks to us Italian. This is something dear to us, this kind of so deep and sensorial description of nature. Now I would like to ask you something about your... Sorry?
Excuse me. Before we go to the next question, let me ask you a question. Could you give me something, some kind of advice for me? So, what should I do more? The English poems or Vietnamese poems? What do you think I should write more?
I think in your book, as I translated, there is a beautiful balance between the two elements. I like them both. They're different, and if you write always only in a certain way, then it becomes the tone. It becomes a single tone. Having these peaks of differences, I think it's much more interesting to read your poems. You can bring us from a more poetry of the heart, a poetry that talks about your country, about something that is dear to you, and then you can bring us directly into something completely different, more algid, more in your brain somehow. I think you should write both. Go on like you're doing, because it's great. While I was translating the book, I noticed these differences. It's a kind of wave form in your book, and I liked it very much, very, very much.
Okay,
My
thank you
next
so much.
question.
Yes, please.
My next question is about you live at the moment. You live in Hanoi,
Yes,
but you come
right.
but you come from a very beautiful bay, Halong Bay,
Right.
and
You know it.
yes, I've been to both. Unfortunately, I still didn't know you when I was in Vietnam.
I'm happy to know that.
And also the contact with the nature. You have very often in your poems descriptions of nature. And Hanoi, for as much as it's a wonderful city and it has a beautiful lake and it has a beautiful park, but it's a city. It's a city full of traffic. It's a bustling city. It's a fervid, vivid city. And so, what do you take from the two different cities, from the small, more rural and natural place, and the big city, the big world city? Which part do you prefer? And what do you bring of those cities in your poetry?
Well, as we also know that once I wrote, just something about this point. I think it's you who asked me to write about the two cities. I had wrote about the differences of small town and small towners, and also big city, metropolitan city. Well, of course, as I know that our psychology was formed, among in the first 7 or 18 years when we are small. I mean, our psychology or mental attitude are normally formed at early age, when we are small. So that's why the image, the atmosphere of a small town, affected me a lot. But it is mostly affect my mood, and also as many people know, is more romantic in small towns. So to be romantic is something like a future. No. Well, I see that many people think that small towns are more romantic as compared to people in metropolitan and or like cosmopolitan stuff. And I think that the atmosphere of a small town, brought me the romantic spirit, or something we say the poetic feature in my writing, of course. That's what I must say. But it is a big city that brought people small. So if I haven't lived or been in a big city, I still, keep my path with something narrow along the hillside or things like that. But a big city bring people a broader mind of the world, of the people around, of the way of living. So with our big city, we cannot go closer to the world. And I see that small towners are still, they still keep a lot to themselves, right? It's not easy for them to express everything they want. Or they still have something like, what you say, something differences, a certain kind of thing that not easy for them to integrate with big community. So living in a big city can brought people many things. The living condition, or also the cultural condition, it is more convenient, and it facilitates people with many things, and especially many things up to date. So I think I am happy when I still have the poetic and romantic spirit of a small town, and also the broad mind of a big city dweller. And
yes,
yes, I can see that. So I'm happy to have this.
It's a very magical combination, the two that you said. I'm seeing that in 8 minutes our call will be ending. So I want to end with another poem. If I could ask you to read 10th Season in Vietnam, because it's one of my favorite poems, which talks, it feels like a painting, really. It talks about your country. I would love if you could read this one as last poem.
So I can bring a newly written poem to you both. First I with English, and then
okay.
I can show you the Vietnamese version that was transferred into a rap song in Vietnamese.
Beautiful. Just remember that we have 7 minutes, only 7 minutes. So.
Okay, 7 minutes can be enough for this piece. I can read the English version first.
Yes.
Daily expression. I think it still has some images of this one. Now let me start. From every mystic corner, there appears many colors, causing annoyances and madness. In a world of concrete, machinery, dust, we are also sunless. A little meekness in the depths signifies that the heart is beating, while there are floods of water outside. Then, it is as hot as a pan of fire. The lifeless rhythm of life is also crazy. Memory domain is crying dinosaur sounds, roaring deeply sadly, a single self quietly meditating, dawn after dawn arising. The twilight ambush mundane laws, impose their terms on meteor motions, defeat all the strengths, invite the furthest stars to come to misty earth. The untold aged are free from age. The kitchen fires in the afternoon cold to make reality simple. To call up the suns. The kids are still growing without being cloyed because they are obviously fragile. And here the Vietnamese version in a rock song.
Sir, please send us the link or the video. We'll post it on our page of PLCS.
So this was done. We have to start slowly to put the music down
Okay.
because the call is ending. The meet is telling us that in 2 minutes it's ending. I want to have the time to say goodbye to you, to say thank you to all our viewers and to Shamenaz and Progressive Literary and Cultural Society. Please send us the link, the YouTube link of this poem, of this song, and we can have it on the page Progressive Literary and Cultural Society. So whoever wants to listen to it again, they will be able to do it. As for me, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you, Tan. And hopefully when the Italian book will be out, you will be with us again. Thank you. Goodbye, Shamenaz. The microphone is yours.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
so much.
Dr. Shamenaz and Lucilla, for this very happy hour together.
Thanks to
from
the
bottom of my
Italian.
heart, yeah,
Thanks to the
all
Italian
the best
Forum.
to you. Best to you.
Thanks to the Italian
Please.
Forum for conducting this wonderful event, and thanks to Lucilla Trapazzo. We'll meet again, and it was wonderful to listen to you. So I think the time is up. We can talk in detail about our next event later. But sir, we want you again very soon. Whenever you and Lucilla would are free to do another. So this is a bye from